think once I got to that point, I really had to do a bit of soul searching. Okay, well, who is Jade? Like, I don't even know who I am or what I like outside of competing. My journey has taught me to really try and be true to yourself. I think for a long time I tried to be what I thought other people wanted me to be, and that probably wasn't even the case, but that's what I had in my head.
Today's guest is someone who truly understands the athlete journey, not just performance, but identity beyond the game. Jade Heinrich has played and coached at elite levels across netball and AFL, worked inside high-performance environments, including the World Tennis Tour, and now focuses on helping athletes thrive both on and off the field. In this conversation, we get into what happens when sport no longer defines you, why so many athletes struggle to own their strengths, and how setbacks, injury, and pressure can become turning points rather than roadblocks. And if you're someone who looks after a current or former athlete, a parent, a coach, mentor, or partner, there's plenty here for you too. We talk about safe spaces, guidance without control, and what real support actually looks like. If you love sport, but know there's more to life than the scoreboard, this one will grab you. Let's go. I'm Ian Hawkins, and this is Sport is Life. The purpose of sport, as I see it, is to see your vision become a reality. Find your voice, create strong connections, and learn to trust your body. Morning, Jade. How are you?
Good, Ian. How are you going?
Very well, thank you. Now, before we jumped on, I asked you your role at the moment, and you said that's a hard question to answer. So we're going to have a lot to cover today. You've got a lot of different roles in the world of sport at the moment.
Yes. I do wear a few different hats, all good hats, or all hats that give me a lot of joy in what I'm doing. Do you want me to go through what I'm doing?
Tell me about the bit that gives you joy. So what, because I think that's an important message for people to hear, is that I saw a post just this morning. There's a guy on LinkedIn I follow that talks a lot about coaching, and he was saying sometimes it's important that people don't think that they have to get to the top level to be an important coach, and sometimes the best coaches need to stay where they are, and that really resonated. Like, I love coaching people of all ages, but what I really love is coaching like the 8 to 10 year olds, where you can see the rapid improvement and particularly the impact that has for their parents. What is the part of sport that brings you that fulfillment and joy, Jade?
Yes, and that post that you mentioned really resonates with me as well, because I think I have realized how important it is to have that feeling of satisfaction, and that you're actually providing value. So at the moment, I would say what brings me the most joy is working in athlete wellbeing. So I have two roles in that area. One's in netball and one's in AFL. So I have come from a really extensive background in sport as an athlete, as a coach, and like I said, I've worn many hats, but I feel like I've found my niche now in really trying to nurture athletes, to empower them to be able to compete at the highest level, but also know that there's more to them than just what they put out on the footy field or the netball court. That's probably my number one that I'm really enjoying.
Yeah, and I love that. Anyone who's had kids while they've still been playing sport, it changes sport, and you hear it now from elite athletes talking about how they're able to play with more freedom afterwards. But what you're talking about has the same effect, helping them see who they are beyond just them as the athlete, and helping them find where that fulfillment lies. So to me, that's one of the most important pieces of sport at that level, is to help them see that, because it's going to help them to be happier, of course, perform better. That's what they all want ultimately, right, at that level, but also the impact they can have like at a wider level, right? So are you already seeing that with some of the athletes you've worked with, how they're sort of stepping into that space of finding a bit more purpose beyond them in their chosen sport?
Yes and no. I think it's quite a lengthy process. I've worked with a couple of athletes now going into the second season, and yeah, I can still see the struggles with it at times. And I think also dependent on how old they are. Quite a few of the younger ones, and when I talk young, probably early 20s, they still focus very much on, I didn't play well or I didn't play my best game. And then that kind of rules their week. Like
Yeah.
for the next 6 days before they play again, they're still holding on to that. So yes, I've seen some definite progression and development, but it is quite a long, lengthy process to get to a point where you can let those things go and feel quite comfortable in who you are, no matter what you're doing on that particular day.
Yeah, absolutely. I was had a bit of a smile while you said that, because it's the same with the fans. Like so many of them are dictated by the result on the weekend, which is, and it's the same response, right? Helping them find their identity beyond them as the football fan. But that's another conversation. So what in the space of, I want to come back to the purpose part and the satisfaction, because there's an important sort of part of that I want to dig into, particularly in your other role. But what's the primary thing you've found with athletes' well-being? Is there a pattern that shows up? It's like, here's the sort of handful of things that are pretty common across the board.
I think it's the tools and strategies, not really knowing, okay, this is something that's really got me down. How do I shift out of that? And I've found that is a constant theme and talking point with a lot of the athletes I'm working with, particularly when it comes to, selection pressures and, again, focusing on their performance. I feel like we spend a lot of time looking at, okay, well, what can you be focusing on, or how can you find a way to still just be okay with knowing that's how you're feeling, but not let it impact you in such a deep way. And, there are probably a lot of tools and strategies out there for this type of thing, but it's just that awareness and where to go and who to ask for help when you're not sure how to do it.
Yeah, and I guess they everything else is so structured, and they're constantly getting instructions and feedback and coaching, and then you move them into this other part of their world, and it's they probably feel like they're flying blind to a certain degree, do they?
Yeah, and I think some of the athletes I work with have just come out of, say, like a representative level and are now stepping into probably semi-elite or elite. And there is a big jump there, I think, with not only just the general environment, what they've got around them and the resources, but also the people that are around them and the types of coaches. So I think that jump is very scary. And again, dealing with all of that, plus yourself as a person and how you fit. I think, they're the two dynamics that kind of you got to try and find a way to settle into that.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been an elite athlete as well, and you're helping them with that now. What has your experience, or how has your experience helped you to be able to then help them navigate it? Have you got like your own stories and anecdotes from the past? Is it lived experience? Is it some of those strategies, or is it all of the above?
Yeah, I think initially my challenges as an athlete is what drew me to doing this work. I often reflect how I just did not really accept or acknowledge, or just would brush things off and think, I'm not allowed to feel like that, or, I'm the captain of this team, and so I've just got to push through no matter what's going on in my world. So I do probably draw on that when I'm connecting with an athlete. Definitely had a few times where I didn't get selected, or I have one particular one where I was playing for Victoria, and this was AFL, and I was quite surprised to make the team. But once I got in there, I was like, oh, okay. And then I didn't get picked for the grand final. And it's probably the first time I had experienced something like that at that level. And, I still can feel how hard that was to accept.
Yeah,
But
right.
also, you've got to be there on the bench with the team. So you obviously want to be there for them. But I really just kept going backwards and forwards. I can remember sitting in the game going, I'm really struggling because I want to be out there, but I also want to help. And so I've probably used that one quite a few times, and just more from a point of, I'm human too. And I probably didn't cope overly well through that situation, but learnt so much out of it, and realized, what being in a team is like, really like. There's the highs and the lows, and you just got to get through it, no matter what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's a great example. The thing is, right, and the fans sit there and they go, oh, why are they reacting like this? And then the media gets on board if the reaction's not exactly like they think it should be. So, I mean, that's garbage. Like, you're put in a pressure environment where you're going to be triggered based on your own experience, like being left out or whatever it is for you. And of course, it's going to be really difficult. And so you've got to put on a brave face, which is the exact opposite of what you should be doing, because really, those emotions are going to come out. But you've got to be professional. So it's like this internal contradiction. I'm interviewing an Olympic silver medalist who, like, it'll be a few weeks from now. Same story, right? So elite athletes, the disappointment and how she was supposed to act, and all of those things that come with that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because this is something that I talk a lot with people, whether it's in sport or outside sport. It's this internal contradiction where you've been told for a lifetime how to feel. Don't be angry, don't be upset, don't cry, all of those different things. That's hard wiring. So when we get older, like, we suppress our emotions. It's just a given for us a little bit older people than the current elite athletes.
Yeah.
But then the emotions come, and nothing brings emotions to the surface like sport. So how, like, has that been your experience too? And how would you help someone, sport or otherwise, navigate that quite challenging process?
Yeah. Because you're right. I do think I never wanted to show weakness, and some of the sessions, like learning sessions I've created now that I deliver to some of the groups I work with, is around self-awareness, but also resilience, and what resilience looks like. Because I think most people would assume resilience is, I'm just tough and strong and that's it. And ultimately, it's so much more than that, particularly about being vulnerable and communicating how you're feeling. I think that is a really great sign of resilience. And, I think about someone like Ash Barty and how we all love her. And I think that's because she's shown such resilience, but also such vulnerability. And I think for any athlete out there navigating their way through it, it's, being okay with how you're feeling, but then also making sure you're communicating around that, because most of the time you're going to need some support, but depending on how extreme the challenges are, and not just kind of sitting in it yourself for a long time and just thinking, I'll be okay, but really leaning on your support structures around you, to help you get through that.
Yeah, I like that. When you were talking about Ash Barty, it was making me think of Pat Rafter as well. And the commonality there is that they had stable family lives. And I would say a higher percentage than the average population of the elite athletes, that's not necessarily the case. And they might have had challenging experiences. And of course, all that's going to come to the surface in those high pressure situations. But then we watch people like Ash Barty and we go, well, why can't they all be like that? And then I always think, well, if I know they're paid lots of money, but that doesn't suddenly teach them all the skills I need to know. And it's like, hold a mirror up to yourself and ask yourself, like, how do you go in those pressure situations? Have you done that profile tool that it gives you your general profile, but it also shows you where you go under pressure?
Oh, I've done lots of those tools. I'm not sure I've done that one specifically, but I want to do it now.
Yeah, because it's like,
Yeah, I
go,
think
go.
I'd already have a pretty good idea of how I function when
Yeah,
I go
yeah.
into that stress state. But yeah, that sounds like a really good one to do.
It was. I watched people talking about theirs and they'd go from one extreme to the other, but I just
Mm.
doubled down on where I already sit. So that sort
Yeah.
of emotional, sensitive space, quite
Yep.
measured, under pressure. Like, no, like I go further down there, and that's when it gets irrational. And that explains why I'd react emotionally on the field fairly often, because it's that
Yeah.
pressure situation. So,
Yeah.
so, so that's been a big part of my work on and off the field, is learning how to
Yep.
navigate that. I want to come back to one of the things that you talked about. Dealing with disappointment. And you also mentioned there was something else there you mentioned of from your own experience with that being left out that I thought would be really, because it sounds like that's right, you said that's such a big part of my story, so I guess that's a lot of what I help with, and to me that's where you find purpose, is helping people through the things that you've had struggles with yourself. So tell us a bit more about that, and how
Yep.
you've what you've learned about yourself, that self-awareness that you mentioned.
Yeah. I think growing up, I was very determined to be the absolute best athlete ever, and probably put all my eggs in one basket. Well, a few different sporting baskets, but yeah, that was very much my identity. And I wanted people to see me as this sporting talent and athletic person. And really, that's what drove me. And yeah, again, now I can kind of look back and go, wow, because there was a lot more to me than just that. But
Yeah.
that's what I chose to do. And so obviously, when things didn't start going well, or I didn't make teams, or I wasn't where I thought I should be, oh, that broke me. Like, I was like, no, I'm this person that everyone knows that they're just this amazing sports person. And yeah, I kept pushing and kept pushing. And for a long time, probably too long, if I'm honest. And I would say COVID was maybe the time where I actually realized, hang on, maybe I'm not like going about this in the right way. I'm almost forcing something on myself that I'm not really maybe there now, or things are just different. But yeah, I think once I got to that point, I really had to do a bit of soul searching. Okay, well, who is Jade? Like, I don't even know who I am or what I like outside of competing. So I think, again, that's probably my learnt wisdom that I impart to athletes around, some of the first questions I ask them when I meet them is, so tell me, who is blah, 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 like tell me who they are. And they'll sit there and they'll be like, I play footy, I go to uni, and I'm like, okay, so I think there's probably a bit more to that, because I just think once you start going down that path, it's such an exciting path to realize, like you said, when you're struggling, what do you do? Like, how do you cope? But then also when you're in your flow and everything's good, where are you? What's happening around you for you to be like that? And maybe you're not on the sports field all the time. So yeah, I think I'm so grateful that I got to a point where I started to realize that, and essentially probably didn't have that guidance. And it's no one's fault, no one coach's fault or anything like that. I think I was just full steam ahead. No one was going to stop me. It didn't matter what you said. But yeah, now I want to be that type of person that can help athletes find their way and themselves a little bit, whether they're playing sport or not.
Love it. And that's so needed, not just for athletes, but like for everyone, like, because that's the same answers will come if you ask people, who are you? And they might mention their job or their hobbies or whatever. So who are you? Like, I love what you said there. Who are you when you're in flow?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
what sort of things you're doing, how you're operating, all of those things. Yeah, very good questions to ask. And it comes back to that phrase you used before, the self-awareness piece. It's such an important part of the puzzle.
Mm.
So what I know from talking to you and also reading a little bit about what you've been up to is that a big part of that for you is creating, and you've created a whole raft of curriculum and programs to help people. So is that you in your flow, that creative space?
Yes, I would say so. I have done a profiling tool in the last 12 months, actually.
You
that I've
created
never
your
done.
own?
Pardon? Oh, no. So I just
Oh.
participated in one.
Okay,
yeah. Although that gives me an idea. No, I participated in one with a team that I'm currently working with, and I'd never done it before. Anything kind of along those lines. It was more around your working style, and I was one of the only ones that kind of came up at the top, or not the top, in ranking, but just more in the circular options. And I was this explorer creator. So I do feel I love being innovative or coming up with different ways to engage people or to motivate them, and I think that programming and curriculum is obviously a great vehicle to do that, and have been fortunate to have some opportunities, yes, in sport to create some different accreditations, but also even just in the education system, developing some diploma units and coursework. So, yeah, I think it's just such an interesting space being a student. And I'm a student now as well. Like, I'm still doing a bit of study myself. But, yeah, I feel when I can get into that space of, okay, so I'm sitting in the shoes of an 18-year-old about to do a diploma in sport and rec or whatever it might be, like, how are they going to best learn? And try and really picture them. Are they an 18-year-old male that's just finished school, hated school? What's going to be the best for them to get the most out of this course? So I really love trying to come up with different styles and ways of, learning.
Yeah, I love it. And you mentioned there the profile tool. It sounds a lot like the one I use. And one of the things that you learn through there is that everyone does sit in a different place on that spectrum. So do you bring that into your creating to make sure that you're covering all of the different types of learning needs and communication needs and so on?
Yeah, definitely. And part of some of the other work that I do as well is around developing, or not always developing, but organising different workshops and programs and just forums and things like that. And so I'm often thinking, okay, we have done this style a few times now, like, what's a different way of doing this? And, you've got your obvious online face-to-face, but then how could we get maybe a group to go and visit a different environment where there's people performing whatever they're learning about, or so it's a bit more observation, or so, yeah, I think that particular work where it's almost like that middle person, I'm not delivering, I'm organising, is almost the key part too, to try and make sure I'm getting the right person to come in and deliver, or the environment for that cohort of people.
Love it. And did you play your sport that way as well? Like, you were the organiser, you were seeing sort of that bigger picture, creating?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I was someone that was very determined and very like win at all costs to a degree. But yeah, because when I did that profiling testing, organizer wasn't really one of my strong suits. However, this exploring, creating was, and I guess that's quite similar. There's alignment there between organising and then creating. So I'm fortunate to work with a few people that love that part. So I'll often come up with the idea and this is how I think it needs to work and how often we need to do it and the people that we want to try and attract. And then I will say, hey, Mary Jo, can you please put some of this together, set up a registration. So I think my role is more in the early stages of an idea, because I will admit I'm not a spreadsheet data. They're just not my cup of tea.
I can relate a lot.
Yeah.
Either. Oh, it's also,
I know my strengths.
yeah, and that's that self-awareness that we talked about before. Like,
Mm.
it's so important to know the things that you're good at and the things that you're not. Again, Pat Rafter, I just happened to see a video of him this week, and he said, oh, you spend some time working on your weaknesses, but ultimately, and he's even talking about on court here, you've got to find the part that you do well and actually utilize that as much as you can. So he was a serve volleyer. He tried to play as much of that as possible, even on courts that didn't necessarily suit it. And how often in life, probably less in sport because, I don't know, you just go a certain way. But in life, we tend to go away from that self-awareness. So is that part of what you're passing on to those people you're working with to help them to go, okay, well, like, see this here, not really suited to who you are and how you operate?
Yeah, and I think one of those early questions to athletes is around, so yeah, what are your strengths? And then, like, what are your things you've got to work on? And, they always know the things they've got to work on. And then when you ask them what their strengths are, they're like, not sure. Maybe I'm good at this. And I'm like, just say it. It's okay to be proud or confident in what you've got the ability to do. So, yeah, can totally relate to, and I must admit, I'm a big Pat Rafter fan too. I had actually a full-size poster of him in my bedroom growing up. So he is definitely someone I love.
Outstanding.
Don't tell my husband, though. I mean, he knows I had a bit of a crush growing up. But, yeah, I think that piece around, yes, obviously we want to know what your areas are to work on. And we do want to try and improve those areas. But if you're at your best when you're doing this, this and this, let's do more of that. And let's really, lean into that role and make sure everyone's aware that this is what you can do. And yeah, even for myself, some of the work I do, it does involve some spreadsheets and some things that are a little bit more of that, organising data, numbers. And I think, but at the end of the day, we still need to be able to execute on some of those things, no matter whether you're an athlete or, you work wherever. I think we have to be able to maintain a base level around those areas and then just fly when it's time for us to really come in and do our thing.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really important distinction because it doesn't mean we have to stay stuck in that space all the time. There is still necessities in those spaces that are our weaknesses. And actually, it's not even saying you can't do those things. Like, I'm quite good with detail and maths, but do I want to be doing it? No. And if I spent more than about half an hour on it, I'd be getting really sleepy because it's just so far out of my flow. So, yeah, for the people listening, it doesn't mean you can't keep doing the things that you enjoy that aren't necessarily in flow. It just means that if you want to get better results, it's spending more time in those things. And it's interesting what you said there is that they really sometimes timid talking about their strengths. Is that, do you reckon that tall poppy syndrome still lives for these athletes, even not necessarily with their athletic prowess, but with their personality and actually who they are? You think that some of that's still there?
Yeah. And look, I work, interestingly, in my AFL role, it's with females, but then in the netball, I actually work with the Victorian Men's Open team. And so working with females and males, there are some fairly big differences. And I do find the females are the ones I really have to, persuade or convince that it's okay to say yes. There's nothing wrong with being assertive and going, this is what I can do well. And then with the males, great group of athletes, phenomenal at their sport, but all very humble and genuine. So I think they generally have the ability to say what they're good at too, but then I find they're so aware of their areas they've got to work on and maybe do focus too much on that. So, I think as a whole, and netball's a funny space for males because it's kind of the opposite to a lot of other sports. So I do feel like the tall poppy syndrome is quite different there. It's a very different dynamic to a lot of other spaces. So, yeah, it's really about, like we've kind of said already, just being strong in how you actually vocalize what you can do. And even to the point where I'll often be in a group and I'll be facilitating and I'll say, okay, let's just go around the room and share what our favorite thing we did on the weekend was, or our food that we love, and they'll be a bit like, oh, like this. And I'm like, come on, just say it. Like, just like generally being able to speak convincingly, and own what you're saying. So, yeah, I think it's still got a bit of a way to go, but can see quickly that can change and people can, feel a lot more comfortable in who they are.
Yeah, from what I've seen of the school system, it's a lot of that comes from there. That it's very much tailored to certain types of personalities and abilities, and some of those other sort of abilities they get a bit lost. And then the ones who, it's a whole other conversation. But you talked about the men's and women's netball. I just happened to be having a conversation with a development player for the Giants, and she was talking about the men's netball, and I went, oh, do they play against the women's team, like the national teams play against each other? And I went, I'm sure that'd be a really close game, like a bit different to football when the physicality would obviously come into it. But those female netballers are incredible athletes, but it's also that foundational skill that they just would have been doing from a young age. And she said it's really quite competitive because the women are so much faster. It's more tactical. But I asked that not because I wanted to talk about men's netball, but just if we flip it the other way around and we talk about the work that you do in your other role around opportunities for females in sport, particularly that grassroots level, is that part of the conversation, is like trying to take it away from it being a comparison or a competition with the males, but actually going, no, this is like we need to just focus here on these things. Does any of that come into it? Because I'm sure there's some politics at play in that space as well.
Yeah, it's such an interesting time at the moment where I think now, probably for a little while, had women's sport at the forefront, maybe even for the last kind of 10 years, there's started to develop this buzz about it. And I think we're now at a point where we are seeing some amazing positive change, and it's awesome, but I don't know that we're seeing it one from the highest level in some sports in terms of that higher level kind of policy framework. Some sports, yes, others maybe not, but then also at grassroots, looking at how they're trying to implement some of the things that are being asked of them, whether it's from state government or one of the policies that I work around is the fair access policy. And the sessions that I've been in where I've either facilitated or just been supporting, and it's very hard sometimes for males to not take offence to some of the conversation that is there around, females getting pushed down for such a long time and never being able to do this, this and this. And it's really important that the message is not, this is the men's fault. Because really, it's got nothing to do with you as the president of this cricket club right now. It's society, and it's just what's happened for such a long time, and it's what people have just thought is normal. So, but you can be the change maker. And like I said, because I work in women's and men's sport, probably on the other side of things, like I work with the women in the AFL and then I work with the men in netball. So I'm kind of working with those minority groups.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because I'm all about everyone having an opportunity, whether you're male or female. We don't want to disadvantage anyone. We just want everyone to be able to enjoy their sport, perform at whatever level they want to perform at. So I think that's been a big focus for me in the work I'm doing, and any of the communication around sessions, workshops, changes in structure. it's very important that we're speaking to it in a way that makes men feel empowered to help rather than to feel like, oh, just another one of those, I've got to do this, like this can make such a great difference for you and your club. So let's do it together. I think that's the crucial part to really seeing this continue on the path that we want it to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was telling you before, like my local football club, so soccer, we were blessed to have a man and a woman who both threw themselves into it. The man, his daughter was playing. He really pushed to get female-only teams at that younger age. And now a lot of the other clubs in the local area just ignored it and didn't want to start it. So we've got all those people. And then, of course, the brothers come across as well. And so it's had a really positive impact for the club, but mainly because it's been not here we go thing. It's like the people at the top have embraced it and said, how good can this be for the club? And also the woman I was talking about, who's extremely passionate football person and has probably lived through all of those challenges growing up. And so she's had a huge impact as well. They've got some big goals for where they're going to take it, but it all comes from that position of embracing it and having it as an empowerment piece that you described. So I was looking for the best way to take you back to your sporting journey, but I think this is a good way of doing it. It's like when you're a female athlete, I imagine there at a certain age you had to be playing with the boys, and then maybe the opportunities to have girl-only teams at that age were really limited. Like what challenges did you face as an athlete going through those early years?
Yeah, well, I played a lot of netball. So I would say that's obviously one sport that isn't impacted and hasn't been impacted in that negative sense for a little while. But I know when I started playing footy, AFL, and even to the point where I got invited to come and play cricket, I was like, oh, they're all male though. Like, There's no girls there. I feel a bit intimidated. And that was probably, like, I wasn't super young, maybe like 12, 13, 14. So my perception of some of those sports was, only boys play that. Like, and I probably didn't even question it. And now I think, damn it, why didn't I question that? I also, when I started playing, so I tried to do a little bit of footy, and like you said, couldn't really continue. So went back into my netball and basketball, and probably didn't experience anything too negative again in basketball. But when I went back to footy around 19, 20 and started playing some pretty good, a good standard, I do remember times where I would come to a game and I'd be like, oh, why are we like not even getting use of a change room? And then, but then I would be like, oh, I don't know. Okay, don't worry about it. And now with all these, different state or policy statements and changes at the higher level, I look at some of those key principles and think, oh, I just, again, didn't even think there was anything wrong with that. And I remember being in a team where we didn't even have a coach. The men's team obviously had a coach, but we didn't even have a coach. We just had someone kind of looking after us, and then one of the players kind of led us a little bit. And so I think I've only really felt this in the last, maybe 5 years, and really gone, wow, I just thought all of this was okay. And now I start picking up on things. And even in myself, I remember last year when my son was playing footy, they were like, oh, we need a goal umpire. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll just go find a dad. That's what I said. And I was like, no, I'll just go find someone. Like, I caught myself straight away because that's what I grew up with. Just go get a dad to go do it. And, all good. So even myself, who is so, very passionate and really wants to see change, even I still have those just default patterns because of what I've grown up with. So that's also, people just naturally think like that, not because they want to, but just because they do. So how do we change that? That's, the multi-million-dollar question.
Oh, I think it's with the growth. Like I was just thinking when you were talking, is like how do male netball coaches get received?
Mm. Um, yeah, I've had a lot of male netball coaches, and there are quite a few as well now. I would say there's quite a lot out there, and even at Suncorp level, you've got Dan Ryan who coaches West Coast Fever, and still like Dylan Nexip who is with the Sydney Swifts. So there are quite a few males involved in female netball, but yeah, I think at grassroots it might be a little bit different in terms of a male coaching a netball. It still happens, but the support for that person in that role from the club might not be quite there. And that's where, we talk about individuals, but really ultimately we have to work with the club to put things in place to support males or female coaches coaching a male football team or whatever it might be. So that's why I feel really lucky to be working in that area where I can help influence more than just one person and actually see if we can change the whole landscape of a league or even just a club membership base, for the good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to start top down, and that means clubs, and of course it means association and state body level, national levels, I guess, ultimately. That's good. Okay, let's go further into your junior playing days. So we've talked a few around some of we talked about a few of the obstacles that you help some of these athletes with. Like I think about, for me, it was I just really lacked a lot of self-belief. It was only when I had that coach, which I was blessed to have a few that really lifted me up and helped me to see that I was better than I thought I was. Was there a sort of overriding challenge that you faced in your junior days, and did it map across other parts of your life as well? And can you remember a specific person that might have had a profound impact at helping you with that as well?
There's probably a few moments, but the one that does come to mind is when I had quite a bad injury at the age of 17. So up until that point, like I'd said earlier, I was so determined to be the best at whatever it was. I just needed to be the best. And I was playing with my brother outside the backyard, and we were just throwing a ball around. The ball went over the fence, and we argued about who was going to go get it. And in the end, I, being the big sister, went and got it, but I fell through a broken window of the shed that was just on the other side of the fence, and I sliced my entire leg open. And to add a bit more context to it, I was probably at the peak time, I would say, of my netball. I had started getting opportunities at the next level. So if you're kind of looking at Vixens and Mavericks and all those teams, like I wasn't far away from stepping into maybe one of those spaces as a 17, 18, 19-year-old. So this happens, and I won't go through the gory details, but basically went and got looked at and did a lot of nerve and ligament damage. So sliced everything. So, sorry, that's all. I'll stop there.
The visuals are already in my head.
Yeah, I know. I still got a pretty awesome scar, which, I kind of show when I'm like, this happened to me. What that meant was that I was pretty much out for 12 months, like, maybe not quite, but we didn't know because it was such a unique injury, and I had 6 hours of micro surgery on the leg to try and repair everything. And so I feel like it was probably one of the most devastating moments of my life. And I know there's so many worse things out there, but I think at the time that I was in, it was awful. I think I cried for like a week, and there was a teacher that I was really just had a good connection with, and he loved sport, and I probably went and saw him and just, knocked on his office and said, can I just come and chat to you for a little bit? And he probably got me through those first few weeks. didn't even talk to me really, just let me kind of sit there and cry and cry and cry and cry. So, and I think the reason he was so pivotal for me was because I probably had quite a few coaches and mentors during my juniors that were tougher, that were a bit like, you just got to do it. You can do it. I know you can do it. And maybe that's why I evolved the way I did, in that I can just do it. It doesn't matter how I feel. I'll just get it done. Whereas this teacher wasn't like that. He was just quite caring and patient and, very much just happy for me to sit in whatever I was sitting in. And I think, the next few years were really hard. I did come back and play, and obviously, but it was such a different path after that injury. And, I don't want to say, that's the reason I didn't make it to where I actually wanted to be, representing Australia on the national stage. But it definitely took my journey in a different direction. And like I've already mentioned, showed me more parts of me that I needed to learn. And again, I think for a little while I probably sat in a space of, I can't believe that happened to me. Why would that happen to me at this time? And I sat there for too long, which now I can see I needed to go through that to figure out, well, how do I get out of these victim mentalities when bad stuff happens, and change my mindset around, well, what good came from that? And so much good came from that. I had to be disciplined and committed to work through rehab, and I hated it. It was terrible, but I did it and I got through. And again, I was able to bounce back a few years later and play some great netball, but also play footy for Victoria and, do all these amazing things. They might not have happened if I hadn't gone through that. So, I feel that was probably the pivotal moment for me, and probably why now in myself, I am not someone that is, you've got to do this. It doesn't matter what's going on. I know you can do it. I believe in you. I actually take a different approach, and not always is it this nurturing, caring approach, but that's probably how I initially come into interactions. And then if I get a feel that that's what they need, they just need someone to tell them to go do it, great. But I just think that person in my life at that time was very important, and maybe there's not enough of that at the moment at the high level, which is just a generalization. I don't know, but I think that's what I want to try and bring to this space.
No, I love it. And what's struck me there is that my experience in schools is that, like, whether it's the sports teacher or the PE staff room, that's the safe place where kids tend to go more often than not. I still do some casual teaching now, and that's, I still notice it, is that the kids that need just to sit there, not necessarily have anyone say anything, they just know they're going to get some sanctuary there. So I think that is a unique thing to sport.
I will add into that story something that I did not so long ago. Was I wrote a letter to that teacher, a gratitude letter. I'm sure most people are aware of that particular concept, and and he messaged back, and I hadn't seen that teacher for literally since school, and I got so much out of just showing my appreciation for his support in that time. And his response was so lovely, but I'm sure it made him feel good, but it just made me feel so great to actually be like, I really want to acknowledge the role you played in my life at that time. And I've done a few others since then, and such a rewarding task to do, to really show gratitude for someone that's helped you.
I love that. I can tell you that it is the process, because I wrote one of those letters to one of my coaches that had such a profound impact for me when I was 13. And I tried to track down somewhere where I'd find him, and I found his son on social media. I sent him a message. I haven't heard back. Maybe, sometimes if they don't know who you are or can't remember, or the message doesn't even pop up, or whatever it is. But the process of actually writing it, of just expressing it, that to me, that would be the power. Getting the validation would be nice, but that, I think, I think it's just to have those moments of pause for gratitude, such a powerful thing. I remembered what I was going to say is like, when these moments happen, and everyone's had them, these huge setbacks, to me, it's like, I don't know if you believe in a destiny or fate or whatever it is, but some things just are meant to happen, I reckon, because they've got to take us on this path of finding out more about who we are, and then importantly, then paying that forward, because everyone's had these challenges from the lowest level of whatever you think you are to the elite level. The person that came to mind when you were talking was Shane Watson. He had, like, in cricket, he had endless challenges with injuries. So he went down that path of what is still happening, still pretty prevalent, what you talked about, the physical. We're just going to get tougher and more resilient from a physical perspective. And now he's mentoring young cricketers coming through to help them with that other side of it, which he's learnt the hard way, just how important it is. So, like, what a gift that injury is. And you've got the scar to show off as well, to create a bit more impact.
Yes. Yeah, I think, again, it's probably one of the stories I've used a few times when someone comes in and, they might have broken something or whatever it might be. But like, I think that's kind of what we're all here to do. Just say, I've been there. And it doesn't, again, it could be the number one Australian bowler in the cricket team. Like, they've been there in some way. They've experienced what you're experiencing. And I think we are seeing that a lot more now in just general, like, events and conferences and things like that. You're ultimately going and you're hearing someone share their story, and it makes you go, oh, wow, that's what they had to go through. And sometimes it's like, well, I'm not dealing with anything compared to them. Like, I think Mick Fanning is a great example. I've listened to, his recent podcast as well. And I was like, whoa, just, what he's had to go through, but still achieve so much, and so grounded as a person. So, I think let's all share, and then we'll just power up everyone.
Absolutely. And that's without mentioning the encounter with the shark. Like, he's been through it, right? And then you add in we were actually, I used to work at Fox Sports. We were actually watching it live as it happened. And I got to tell you, like, crazy.
Like in the water, I was like, how did you do that?
Well, having spoken to surfers, the sharks are there all the time. They often see them. Like, and often the sharks are just swimming past doing nothing, and so it's like, we're in their territory. Like, duh. I mean, even that one was an accident by the sound of it. Just the leg rope got caught. Wasn't an intentional thing, but still, imagine punching with the shark. Anyway, we digress. Okay, so let's come back to your work in creating those courses, because I think one of the things I've learned is how important it is for people to have structure when there isn't any. And you talked about how when you're helping them from a wellbeing perspective, there's still so much there's insecurity, the word, a reluctance, and then you compare it to the athlete. They've got all the structure, they've got all the information. So you're a creator. I'm sure you've already had these ideas. What is the next layer of structure that needs to come in to give people, not just from both, to cover off them as the athlete, but also just them as how they are going to operate better at a personal level?
Yeah, it's such a multi-dimensional process, I think. I often like to ask quite a few different questions initially when I'm working with an athlete. Yes, to get to know them, but also to find out, where they're at with themselves and what their environments are like. And I do like to get an understanding of, is having core values or that understanding of themselves important to them. And if it's not, okay, that's fine. But unless I get that feeling or understanding of how they operate as a person, it's really difficult to then put some structure in around what they're looking for. So once we've kind of got that, then it's like, okay, what's the process for you? Like, do you need like a really structured week and like you've got to have time for this, got to have time for that? Or is it, no, I just need to have those key things in there and then I really like to just go with it, or have those hours or two where I'm like, you know what, I feel like going for a swim or whatever it might be. So I think I do talk a lot about the process with them, because I think athletes are very results and outcomes focused. And I feel like as a wellbeing person, one of my jobs is to help them understand the process is the focus, because if you get that going, then your result will come. And I do love this little acronym saying, and I'll reference the person that's developed it. So it's TK Knight, but it's E plus R equals O. And E is an event, and then R is the response, and then you get your outcome. So I really hone in on how we respond to things, like what's your process once something happens. And it could be that it's as small as you take a mark out on the footy field. Okay, what's your next response? And it's not about, I've got to get the kick to land. It's about, okay, I'm going to take my 5 steps back, and then I'm going to make sure my vision's up and I'm assessing everything, so that process, that response part is the key part to getting good outcome, because you can't control whether the person marks it, but you can control what you put into executing. So I do use that a lot to try and simplify it for people, to say events are happening left, right, and center. Okay. And even to the point of, where I hurt myself, fall through a broken window, and, how did I respond to that? Like, I responded in a way that was pretty like natural to begin with, but I maybe didn't have the best response as we kind of worked through the rehab initially. It took a long time. So I guess it's just saying, however you respond, you're going to probably get a positive outcome if you find a way to frame that response or put it in a process that works for you based on you as a person or as an athlete. And then, yes, the outcome could be like a different outcome in 10 different ways, but it's probably still going to be quite on the positive side of it. And you can't control that. All you can control is this space. So I think that is probably one way of structuring it for most athletes. And it might, need a little bit of tweaking for them depending on the type of person they are. But I've just found it really simple and easy for people to understand. Well, you got that outcome because you responded like that. Of course, that player got upset with you because of the way you responded. So if you responded in a different way, you might have got a better outcome.
Love it. What dawned on me while we were talking then is like how much I learn from interviewing people every week. So that is, and I love that one. I'm definitely going to steal that one.
Well, it's not mine. I've stolen. I mean, we've all stolen everyone. So
absolutely.
But I did reference TK Knight, so that's his.
yeah, absolutely. No, well, that's exactly right. It's like whether it's sport or coaching or life, is like we're just doing the best we can with what we've learned. So why not learn as much as you can, take it on board, and then bring your own flavor to it? That's the essence of it. Like you said, isn't that what we all should be doing? Isn't that what life's about? So cool. Again, lost my train of thought. That's what I was going to ask. Family. So you talked about you, the mum. How many kids do you have?
2.
And are they old enough to be playing sport?
Yes, they both play sport.
So how do you go as the mum who's been at that elite level and navigating that space? Because I know that can be challenging for a lot of parents, but I guess you've learned a fair bit. You almost take yourself as the role model to help other parents to chill the fuck out a bit.
Yeah, I have struggled, I think. Because you love sport, you just want your kids to love sport. And fortunately, my kids do, one more so than the other, I would say. But I actually had something happen yesterday and I could feel myself really getting tense about it. But basically, my daughter had been offered to play AFL at school and she said no. And the reason she said no was because, I just didn't think it was for me. And I was like, you've got to do it. You've got to do it. And I asked her a few questions about why. And then actually my husband was there too. And he's like, I think you should stop asking her questions. She said no. Because I could just feel myself saying, why wouldn't she just take up this opportunity? Like, it's a great, thing to do with, and it's not too pressure. And I just couldn't, because I'm someone that doesn't say no very often. No matter what it is, I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And I could feel myself forcing that on her. And, I'd like to think that doesn't happen too often. However, when you're so, like, in love with sport and what it gives you, it's really challenging not to put that on your kids, and allow them to make some of their own decisions, but also learn as they go. And, she might get 2 weeks down the track and be like, I should have played footy, and maybe that's the lesson there, or she might not. But yes, I feel I'm very much someone that wants to allow them to develop in their own way. And, my daughter who's 10, she's been asked to play rep a few times, and we've said, do you want to play rep? And she's like, not sure. And I'm like, that's okay. So we haven't. And I guess as someone, and my husband's been quite a good athlete as well, it is a bit difficult for us because we're like, you have the potential to be a really great athlete. But if she's not really that keen, do we want to force her to do it? And also, it obviously affects us in some way in our lives, starting to play representative. So, I see a lot of parents, and I've worked in a few roles where I've had to manage parents or deliver presentations around how to work with parents. So it's so funny when you have kids and you're like, oh my God, this is me now. I'm feeling all these feelings that those parents often share. And I've had to catch myself a few times and go, hang on, this is not my battle. This is something for my daughter or my son to work out. So I think, every parent, we all feel the same. We just want the best for our kids. And unfortunately, though, they're going to face the same challenges as we all have. And sometimes we might just need to let that organically happen, because it's only going to make them a stronger person. And we're obviously there to support them through those times. So, I wouldn't say I'm getting everything right, but I'm trying.
I've been that parent too. I think that's the beauty of it. We learn as we go, then we can pay that forward. But the awareness around it allows you to be able to step back. And having a husband, I was laughing then because it's like similar conversations at the moment. I've very much been that parent. I've sort of come out the other side, and now I'm having the same conversation where my wife's kind of like, well, you should be doing this. I'm like, just got to let it go. Yeah. But the other thing I was like, because I write that down, like instincts versus control. The mum's instincts are so important, right? Like the other week I had Matt Johns on the basketball, not the TV person now. Yep. And he was talking about if his mum hadn't pushed him to go to the basketball camp that he really didn't want to go to, he wouldn't be playing at the level that he is now because of the people that he met, the contacts, the important coaches who are still in his life now. So it is a fine line. And the same thing, like my eldest, my mum pushed her into this job, which she now absolutely loves.
Yeah.
It's like nothing lights her up like that work that she does with young people. So it's a fine line. But I think it's ultimately like what you talked about then is like being able to let them have their own journey. Because I think looking back now is they'll find their way if they're meant to. Yeah. It's not about those moments that are definitive, because they've got to want it themselves. And if they don't find that, well, they don't find that.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the key part. If you can tell that they want it, or they come back and ask again, that's when you might go, okay, we're going to have a proper discussion about this and see if we can, navigate the next step together. But it's when they're a bit more like, oh, I really just don't want to do this. It's like, okay, like, we'll just leave it. And obviously the context, our job is a bit different to just having a go at a sports tournament.
Yeah.
I think that, obviously plays a part as well.
Yeah. I think they still need some encouragement, because sometimes that it might be nothing to do with the fact that it's AFL. It could be, well, they don't want to be playing with they want to be spending time with their friends. Maybe there's some people in that group they're not sure of. Like, there can be so many different things. So it's still important to have a conversation, but like you described, asking questions and helping them come to that and from an empowered place, really good. I think if I look at my parenting journey, it's been a mix of, I want to make sure I give them the drive from that I didn't get from my parents, but then also like make sure I give them that choice. So it's like it's tough, right? And you said it perfectly. We just want the best for them, and we see their potential, and so it's trying to fight that urge to push them into the potential. Ultimately, it's like we've got to fight it ourselves. It's a fun but very challenging space.
It is, yes, agree.
Awesome. Jade, is there anything else you want to share about what you see for sport in the future? What can be added? What more positivity we can bring, and just anything you'd love to be able to share with our audience today.
Yeah, I think my journey has taught me to really try and be true to yourself. I think for a long time I tried to be what I thought other people wanted me to be, and that probably wasn't even the case, but that's what I had in my head.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I'm really grateful that I've got to a point now where I'm like, hey, I actually can be Jade and still be doing great things and having positive impacts. And so I think that's probably my main message I want to get out there is, we all might, or lots of people might be really good at sport and bring great character to that. And just because someone else does things a bit different to you, that doesn't mean you have to change it or change who you are just to be like them because they made the next level and you didn't. I think that's the key message. We need diversity. We don't want everyone to be the same. And I now look at when I'm, whether it's making a decision about selecting people into certain roles or jobs, I used to just say sorry, or in my own head, I'd be like, nah, they're a bit different to me. I'm not sure that, but now I'm like, oh, they're different to me. So they might be able to bring something to this role that I don't know or that I can learn. So I think that mentality as well is let's embrace all the different opinions and thoughts because they just add so much value.
Oh, that's so good, because how often in those environments where there's politics of sport, it's almost like they're a threat. They know there's something I know, they're a threat. It's politics of business as well, same sort of thing. But flipping it to saying, oh, what can I learn here and how can they add value? Oh, if only more people thought like that. That is a great point.
It's taken a while, though. It's not easy to do that. But, I think it is something I'm still working on, but getting better at.
Awesome. Well, Jade, thank you so much for giving up your time on a Saturday morning for this chat. Absolutely loved it. Some great messages, particularly, as you said there, that permission to be true to self, such an important message for people of all ages. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Awesome. You're welcome. Before we wrap this one up, I've got a quick confession to make. This episode with Jade was actually recorded back in April last year and somehow managed to disappear into the dark corners of my admin system. So elite coaching conversations, yes, not so elite file management. But honestly, this is one of those chats that proves good conversations don't expire. What Jade shares here about identity beyond sport, owning your strengths, navigating setbacks, and creating safe environments for athletes and parents, it's just as relevant now, if not more. We talked about backing yourself without apology, guiding young athletes without controlling them, and why diversity, care, and self-awareness aren't soft concepts, they're performance foundations. So yes, it took a while to see the light of day, but this one was absolutely worth the wait. Take one insight from this conversation and apply it to your own life game plan, whether that's as a parent, a mentor, or someone still working out who they are beyond the scoreboard. If this episode resonated, like, subscribe, follow, and share it with someone who loves their sport but knows there's always more to the story. You've taken the time to listen to this whole episode. Now it's time to take action. Commit to one thing you've learned today and make it happen. And to avoid any obstructions, join the Sport is Life movement by clicking on the link in the show notes.